Right now, 7% of multifamily mortgages in this country are in trouble. That's the highest number since the 2008 financial crisis. And over the next 18 months, $930 billion in commercial real estate debt is coming due. And a huge chunk of that is multifamily, apartment buildings, deals that syndicators raised millions of dollars from passive investors to buy. And now, those syndicators are sending out capital call letters and your money is gone letters. If you're thinking about getting into multifamily investing, this might be the most important video that you watch this year. Because what I'm about to walk you through is exactly what went wrong. 3 mistakes, that's it. 3 mistakes turned a generation of successful operators into a cautionary tale. And the same 3 mistakes are about to create the biggest opportunity in multifamily real estate in over a decade, but only for the people who learn from this. Mistake number 1 is not a number, and it's not a strategy. It's actually a belief. The belief that things would always stay the same. So let me paint the picture for you. Let's rewind to 2021. Interest rates are at historic lows. Rents are climbing 10, 12, 15% year over year in some markets. Apartment buildings are trading hands faster than houses in a suburb. And everyone decided that this was the new normal. Not a moment in time, not a phase of the cycle, the new normal. I watched it happen in real time. Operators that had no track record, raising $50 million, 25-year-olds telling investors they could double their money in 3 years, courses popping up everywhere, teaching how to syndicate their first deal. Rates stay low, rents keep climbing forever. Now, if you've been around real estate for more than 10 minutes, you know that's not how it works. Real estate is cyclical. It's always been cyclical, going back 100 years. Booms, corrections, booms, corrections. But here's what happens at the top of every cycle. A whole generation of investors gets in who've never seen the other side. They've only seen up. They've only seen easy. They've only seen everyone's a genius. The same thing happened in 2008. Same thing happened in the early 90s and in the 80s. Every single time a new crop of investors looked at the previous downturn and said the exact same words. This time it's different. It's never different. The fundamentals always come back. Rates normalize, rent growth slows down, cap rates expand, and the operators who built their entire business on the assumption that it would never happen are the operators who are sending out capital call letters right now. Here's the lesson if you're an inspiring investor watching this. When you're evaluating a sponsor, ask them what their underwriting looks like in a down market. Not a flat market, a down market. Negative rent growth, rising vacancy. If they can't answer those questions specifically, they look at you like you're being negative or pessimistic. If they say, we don't really see that happening, run. Because what you've just identified is an operator who's only ever seen one half of the cycle. And the half that they haven't seen is the half that's happening right now. That belief that things would always stay the same is what made the next 2 mistakes possible. Mistake number 2 is where it gets technical, and it's where the real damage gets done. Mistake number 2, floating rate debt. Now, if you're new to multifamily, that phrase might not mean that much to you yet. So let me break it down, because understanding this concept, this one's concept, will protect you from 90% of the bad deals that you're going to see over the next 5 years. Here's how it works. When you buy an apartment building, you have 2 basic options on how you borrow the money. Option 1, fixed rate loan. So you lock your interest rate in, 5%, 6%, whatever it is, that rate stays the same for the entire life of the loan. Predictable, boring, safe. Then option 2 is a floating rate loan, also called a bridge loan. Your interest rate moves with the market. If rates go down, your payment goes down. If rates go up, well, your payment goes up. Now, in 2021, with rates near 0, floating rate debt looked like an absolute no-brainer. You could borrow money at 3%, sometimes even less. And the experts said rates would stay low for years. The Fed said rates would stay low for years. Syndicators ended up loading up on floating rate bridge debt because it let them do something that they couldn't do with fixed rate loans. It let them buy more, pay more, bigger deals, more leverage, higher returns on paper. And here's where the trap was set. Most of these bridge loans had a 3-year term, sometimes only 2. The plan was simple: buy the building, renovate the units, push the rents, refinance into a long-term fixed rate loan at year 3 at a higher value. Everyone wins. It was a beautiful plan on paper. Then the feds raised the rates 11 times, from near 0 to over 5% in about 18 months. Now imagine you're an operator. You borrowed at 3%. Suddenly your interest rate is 7%, 8%, 9%. Your monthly mortgage payment just doubled, sometimes tripled. but your rents didn't double. Your rents grew maybe 3%. In some markets, rents actually went down. So now you're an operator with a building that costs more to run than it actually brings in. Every single month, you're losing money. And remember, that 3-year refinance plan, the one that everybody was supposed to win, you can't refinance now because the new rate is higher than the old rate. The building's value is dropped. The bank looks at the numbers and says, no. Your bridge loan, it's pretty much about to mature. When a bridge loan matures and you can't refinance it and you can't pay it off, well, the bank takes back the building. The investors lose all of their capital, the sponsor loses their reputation, and every passive investor who trusted that sponsor learns the hardest lesson in real estate. This is happening right now in real time to thousands of deals across this country. Here's the lesson for aspiring investors. When you're looking at a deal, ask the sponsor, what is the debt structure on this property? If they say bridge debt or floating rate, ask one more question. What happens if rates stay elevated for another 2 years? If they have a clear, specific, documented answer, you might be okay. If they wave it off and they say, oh, we've stress tested it without showing you the actual numbers, if they tell you, oh, rates are about to come down, run. Again, because floating rate debt isn't inherently evil. I want to be really clear about that. It's a tool. In the right hands, with the right protections, with the right exit strategy, it can work. But in the wrong hands, paired with the belief that things would never change, it became a wealth destruction machine. That's mistake number 2. Mistake number 3 is the one that I have the least patience for because it wasn't a market mistake and it wasn't a debt mistake. It was a choice that the operators made to win a deal at the expense of the investors. Now, this one I have a hard time talking about calmly because the first 2 mistakes I can almost forgive. Believing the cycle wouldn't turn, that's human nature. Using floating rate debt in a low rate environment, that's a strategy that backfired. But this one is a choice. Let me explain what underwriting is so that we're all on the same page. When a sponsor looks at a deal, they build what's called a pro forma, a financial model. Best case, worst case, most likely case. How much rent can we push? How much will expenses grow? What's our exit cap rate? How fast can we renovate? Every single assumption drives the projected return to the investor. If you assume 3% rent growth, you get one number. If you assume 8, you get a much bigger number. Now, in 2021, in 2022, deals were trading at insane prices. Buildings were selling for more than 50% of what they sold for 3 years earlier. Cap rates compressed to historic lows, which means, in plain English, the buildings were really expensive compared to the income that they produced. So here's the choice that every sponsor faced. Option A, walk away from the deal. Tell your investors the numbers don't work at this price, we're going to pass. We'll wait for a better opportunity. Or option B, crank up the assumptions in your model until the numbers do work. Push your rent growth assumptions from 3% to 7%. Push your exit cap to something so optimistic that the market will be hotter in 5 years than it was at the peak. Now, technically, both options are legal. They're both ethical, but only one of them is honest. And here's where I get fired up. Because behind every one of those aggressive pro formas was a real person, a passive investor, a doctor who saved for 15 years, a teacher who put her entire retirement account, a small business owner who finally had enough capital to diversify. These people aren't financial professionals. They trusted the sponsor. They looked at the projection and said, 20% IRR, 2x multiple, okay. They didn't know the way that those numbers worked. They didn't know that it only worked if it kept going up forever. They didn't understand the sponsor's incentive was to win the deal, not protect the downside. Because the sponsor doesn't get paid if they don't close. The acquisition fee, the asset management fee, the promoted interest, none of that money flows if the sponsor walks away from the deal. And in 2021, 2022, the entire industry made the numbers work together. Brokers built pro formas that wouldn't survive 10 minutes of honest scrutiny. Sponsors stamped their logos on pro formas and raised millions of dollars on top of it. Lenders saw rents in a growing market 15% and underwrote loans to those same assumptions. Nobody wanted to be the adult in the room because being the adult in the room meant losing until the music stopped. And then being the adult in the room meant being the only one still standing. Here's the lesson for aspiring investors. When a sponsor shows you a pro forma, look at 3 numbers: rent growth assumption, exit cap rate, and the stress test. If the rent growth assumption is higher than what the market averaged over the last 10 years, that is a yellow flag. If the exit cap is lower than the cap rate that they're buying at, that's a red flag. And if there's no stress test at all, if they can't show you what happens to the deal in a recession or with negative rent growth or with cap rate expansion, that's not a flag. That is a straight up stop sign. Walk away. The deals being marketed right now in 2026 look a lot more conservative than the deals from 2021 because they have to. The market wouldn't tolerate the old assumptions anymore. And that is exactly why the next 5 years could be the best years in multifamily real estate in a generation. The bad operators, they're getting flushed out. The aggressive assumptions, they're dead. Lenders are demanding real underwriting again. So the buying opportunities are about to be incredible. Let me show you why. So if everything I just told you is true, if the industry is in the middle of the biggest distress wave since 2008, why am I more excited about multifamily right now than I've ever been in 10 years? 3 things are happening at the same time. Number 1, supply has collapsed. Multifamily construction starts are down more than 40% from their peak in 2022. In plain English, builders stopped building. The cost of construction just got too high. Rates got too high. The economics stopped working. So all those new apartments that were supposed to flood the market in 2026 and 2027, they're not coming, which means we're gonna have a supply shortage in the exact same markets that were oversupplied last year. That's number 1. Number 2, capital is paralyzed. Right now, there is over $7 trillion sitting in money market funds, a record, the highest amount in history. That is $7 trillion earning a few percent, waiting for clarity, waiting for rates to drop, waiting for the market to bottom, waiting to feel safe again. And here's what I'll tell you about people who wait for clarity in real estate. They miss every single cycle because by the time things are clear, the buying window, it's closed. The smart money has already been deployed and the deals are gone. The best vintages in real estate history, 2010, 11, and 12, when everything felt uncertain, when everybody was on the sidelines, when the news was bad and getting worse, that's exactly where we are right now. Number 3, distress is real. I told you earlier, $930 billion in commercial real estate debt comes due over the next 18 months. That is a lot of debt that can't be refinanced, which means sponsors are going to be forced to sell. Not because they want to, because they have to. And when sponsors are forced to sell, prices get rational again. Put all 3 together, a collapsed supply pipeline, $7 trillion on the sidelines, and a wave of forced sellers about to hit the market. That's not a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe for the greatest multifamily buying window in over a decade. This window only works for people who have learned from the last cycle. So if you're an aspiring investor watching this video, let me give you the playbook. 4 things. Number 1, do not, and I repeat, do not copy what worked in 2021. The operators who got rich quick 3 years ago are the operators who are in trouble right now. The playbook that worked at the top of the cycle is the playbook that's killing people today. You want to learn the playbook that works in every cycle, not the one that worked in the easiest market in our lifetimes. Number 2, vet the sponsor harder than the deal. And I want to say that again because it's the most important sentence in this entire video. Vet the sponsor harder than the deal. Anybody can put a pretty pro forma in front of you. Anyone can show you a beautiful market. What matters is the person executing the plan. Have they operated through a down market? How did their deals from 2018 to 2020 perform? Did they take care of the investors when things got hard, or did they ghost? The sponsor is the deal. Everything else is paper. Number 3, if you're brand new, I know there's 1,000 gurus telling you can syndicate your first deal. You can raise capital from friends and family. You can be the next big operator. But I'm telling you, there's a different way. And it's called the JV operator model. In the JV operator model, you start with a smaller deal. You learn what it is to find, fund, close on a multifamily property, and you have real experience and real credibility. That's how you build the foundation. That's how you avoid becoming a cautionary tale. And number 4, invest in the education before you invest in a deal. The cheapest mistake in real estate is the one that you don't make because you learned from someone else's mistake. Every single dollar I've ever spent on coaching, and it's been a lot, and mentorship, it's paid for itself 100 times over because it's kept me out of the deals that would have wiped me out. Look, I've spent the last several years teaching aspiring multifamily investors how to do this remotely from wherever they live without quitting their job, without betting their family's future on a single deal. And I built the Remote Multifamily Investing Academy because I watched too many smart people make the 3 mistakes I just walked you through. They believed the cycle would never turn. They didn't understand the debt, and they trusted underwriting that they couldn't verify. So this week, I'm going to go deeper into each one of those mistakes on Instagram and on YouTube Shorts. I'm going to break down the exact red flags to look for in a sponsor, the specific questions to ask before you write a check, and the framework that I use to evaluate whether a deal is actually as good as it looks on paper. If you got value from this video, subscribe, turn on the notifications, and meet me on Instagram and Shorts the rest of the week, because the next 12 months, they're going to separate the investors who built real wealth in this cycle from the ones who learned an expensive lesson. I want you in the first group. I'll see you on the next one.